team. Now, before we get down to the video, definitely want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor Origin PC for sponsoring this video, and I think we should give a shout out to our other sponsor Corsair for being part of this epic streamer bundle that Origin PC is putting together. So if you guys can look on this webpage here, Origin has put together something crazy for you guys. So they just introduced a new RTS streaming bundle, including an Elgato and Corsair accessories, and their award-winning and incredibly fast Evo 16 RTS laptops. So just to give you guys a quick look at what that is, right? So you have a crazy laptop that we'll look at in a second. They have an Elgato Stream Deck Mini, which allows you to control all kinds of different stuff on your stream. I feel like I should actually probably put my Stream Deck into much better use, because those things is really, really sweet. You can kind of like swap between scenes. You can put stuff in the chat. You actually can be really creative with like pop-ups and stuff with this thing, so that can be super helpful for starting a stream. They can give you the Corsair Void RGB wireless headset, which I love this headset. Currently using a Virtuoso, which I believe you can actually select as one of your options for like a bonus with your RTS system. So the Corsair Virtuoso RGB headset is also fantastic and has a super nice mic that you can use for like broadcast quality mic. So that's really, really sweet. You also get all this stuff too. Check that out. So we'll put the link in the description so you can check it out as well. And Elgato game capture as well, which allows you to record footage. Another thing that I should probably put to better use. You know, I got a couple of these things. I probably should put this to use, don't you think? That allows you to like game capture and record, which is really, really nice. And then they have the N65 RGB Elite. I would love for this to be a scimitar, but any product you get from Corsair is going to be good, and the M65 RGB Elite definitely is a sweet mouse as well. And then you can scroll down here and check out all the gnarly PCs that you can put together, the laptops that you can put together. And let me tell you, Origin PC laptops are basically just a mobile, super powerful gaming computer. So if any of these PCs with their performance and price range look good to you, definitely would encourage you to consider grabbing one of these, especially if you're interested in starting up a stream, because they do have the hookup for you. And here's what it would look like with the whole streamer package here that we just discussed. But yeah, check out Origin PC, show them some love. If you use the link in the description, that'll let you know that we sent you. And definitely take confidence in knowing that the combination of Origin PC and Corsair, they're going to take good care of you. You're going to get an awesome set of products and get ready to rock for your streaming goals and dreams. But we talked a little bit about the gear that you can get from Origin PC and Corsair. Let's talk a little bit about the gear that I've got on my Warrior, huh? Yo, what's up, guys? Bajheera here. Now, for this video, I thought it would be fun to walk you through some of the gear that I've gotten so far, and how I've put together different sets for different aspects of the game, just sort of catch you guys up on what stats I'm using, what items I'm using in particular, but also what corruptions I'm using as well. So I thought this would be kind of a fun little update, because hopefully we still get some more gear, but I think that we've put together some pretty cool stuff so far. So if you guys are watching the stream, you guys will definitely notice that I'm doing most of my PvE as Fury, and pretty much all of my PvP as Arms. So that's pretty much what it's going to look like. Is it's going to be my Fury sets. I'll have a couple different sets for different elements of PvE, like raiding or Mythic Plus. And then for my Arms set, I mean, I have like a PvE set that I can use. It's just not optimal. So let's start off with the first set, which is the Fury PvE, the Stars set. So with this one, with Fury, basically, as I talked about in my Fury guide, I want as much crit as I can get. And then second off, especially with Infinite Stars, I'm interested in having a lot of haste to try to make that proc fairly often. So crit and haste are my most important stats. For my Azeroth gear, I definitely want a ×3 Cold Steel Hot Blood. That's still super important to me. And in order to get a 480 piece fairly easily for my helm, I went ahead and went Engineering, because it does have Cold Steel Hot Blood on it. And in terms of which talent I chose, well, not talent, but which other trait I chose that's like from the Engineering specific one, I chose the Relational Normalization Gizmo. Gives you a ton of haste, or it'll give you a bunch of health and main stat, basically. So the haste is really nice. Well, I guess movement speed too, depending on which proc you get. So one of the procs is you get strength and health. Other proc is you get haste and movement speed. And so once again, more haste is nice. Even though crit is super important for Fury because of Cold Steel Hot Blood, right? It makes whenever your Bloodthirst crits, you get like a bleed that does damage and also heals you. Super important for Fury damage to crit those Bloodthirsts, but haste is also super nice, especially when I'm trying to stack infinite stars, which I am. I'll show you why. Overwhelming power is a really, really good trait for Fury. Once again, it's just a good DPS trait. Just gives you a bunch of haste. The crit one is probably something to think about, but I just went with the haste one. I went with the one that just heals me here, and it can also cloak off bleeds, which is kind of nice for like fighting out in world PvP. And for my other, my necklace is level 88 because I definitely do my dailies. I'm definitely about that AP grind. I just log in and I do dailies like between arena queues, and I usually will start my day off doing dailies, which is kind of nice, just to make sure that we're getting that AP going strong. And I've really been only playing one character, so having my neck kind of be strong is nice. The secondary stats are nice, and it actually scales up your essences a little bit, which I guess we can walk through the essences a little bit too in a minute. I don't want to make this into just like a straight up Fury guide. I'd rather just talk about talk about my gear. But if you guys want to check out my Fury guide, that's on YouTube as well, obviously. But I'll use Blood of the Enemy for Mythic Plus, and usually like any AoE, even for raid. And I'll use Condensed Life Force for main trait, and then Conflict and Strife, Breath of the Dying are good, along with the haste one usually. But so for my shoulders, we also have the Mythic shoulders because we've been doing some Mythic raiding. We actually transferred over to Sargeras. Really left Dark Spear for the first time ever on my main character, but it's been really fun to raid with some of my PvP buddies. We're currently 7 out of 12 Mythic, and we're you know, getting some cool loot. And this is one of those pieces, the Writhing Spaulders of Madness, which once again has the Cold Steel Hot Blood, which we talked about, but it also has a Heart of Darkness, which is super powerful. It increases your secondary stats by 85 as long as your corruption is level 25 or higher, and I have a lot of corruption, so not a problem with that. I usually try to keep my corruption like below 40 for PvP and Mythic Plus, but for raid you can get a little zesty, and I'll show you in a bit. Once again, overloading power is fantastic. More haste procs, taking damage heals you for a little bit. That's pretty nice. My cloak is maxed out at level 15 for now. That's or rank 15. That's the highest rank it can go, but you can still continue to stack corruption resistance every week, so I'm looking forward to that, to wear even more corruption, because I think the corruption system is super fun. I've really been enjoying patch 8.3 in general, but the corruption has been a really, really cool addition to the game, in my opinion, and I'm digging it. This is a piece that I bought just with Residuum, and I got a little lucky. I'm hoping to get the Vexiona chest, because that'll give me the opportunity to swap this chest over to arms and have triple Crushing Assault without having to swap back and forth all the time. But this one's not too bad, because it does have the Cold Steel Hot Blood, which is the essential trait for Fury PvE, along with Simmering Rage, which is not bad at all. Simmering Rage is pretty good, so we can definitely work with that. I'm gonna try to figure out a way to like get get some sort of Simmering Rage on my Fury set, because Simmering Rage plus this one right here, this Unbridled Ferocity, is really, really good, but I can't use Unbridled and Cold Steel on this thing, so we're just using the Heart of Darkness, which is still good. But yeah, if I can use Unbridled Ferocity over Simmering Rage, that's probably fine. But since this has it, I'm going to use it. And then I use the Elemental Whirl, the Shield, and of course the upgrade on all those things. So now we get to the fun stuff, right? The other gear that I'm excited to show you. So if you guys follow me on Twitter and Instagram and stuff, you probably have seen these gloves, right? These Infinite Star Haste Verse. I did put a socket on them, which is kind of funny, because I put a socket on these when I'm in PvP, but then Infinite Stars gets nerfed in PvP, but then I just have a socket for my PvE stuff, so I just put crit in there. Big time Infinite Stars, rank 3 Infinite Stars, right? So it's doing a bunch of damage, and then recently, this is pretty funny, we even got these bad boys. These Embalmer's Steadying Bracers, which are crit haste with high crit, and it's a tier 2 Infinite Star. So I'm using all of my corruption budget right now, which puts me exactly at 59 corruption, so we're not quite into 60 corruption castigating disaster range. But I can use like 5 total ranks of Infinite Stars. So combined with the haste that I have and the crit, like on single target bosses, if we get like good procs, we're doing 100k DPS, which is like top 20. Depending on how high we go, we had polls where I was probably in the top 10 Fury Warriors in the world in terms of DPS. And I don't think I'm really doing anything special, but we put together a pretty fun build that when everything's proccing and critting, does a lot of damage, so that's pretty cool. I mean, we are 476 item level, which is nice, and we put in some extra work with some of these other, you know, farming up our neck and getting good traits and stuff, but I don't think I'm doing anything especially awesome as a Fury Warrior in terms of like my rotation or anything. Just kind of hitting my rotation, doing mechanics, and laying down deeps, and sometimes getting a little lucky and proccing some serious Infinite Stars. So that's my corruption for PvE single target. We also have the Crafted Belt. that automatically comes with the socket. We had to do a few crafts to make sure we get crit haste on the boots and the legs. We got pretty lucky, so we have the crafted boots and, or sorry, not boots, the crafted belt and legs for crit haste. We got these from a Horrific Vision. They came with a socket, and they actually came with strike through, which is like extra % crit damage. And I took that off because I would much rather just wear it 2 infinite stars and not be over corrupted than have like a little bit more crit damage. But the crit damage is a good corruption. You just got, you know, you got some options, and I decided to take the socketed boots at 470 item level, which is fine. I got this ring from Mechagon. It has a massive amount of crit on it, 400 crit, and it came with a socket as well, and we enchant for crit as Fury. The actual proc itself is kind of weird, because I think my healer friend got it and gave it to me, so it's kind of a weird one. Or was it this one? Was this one we ran with Towley and he gave me this one? I don't know. Either way, the heal a target below 50% health is not very useful, but it's fine. We got this one. This is actually the BOE ring that dropped it for our raid, and instead of selling it, my warrior bro, Seymour Death, decided that I should be the bearer of this ring, so that's pretty sweet. It came with the socket, so we definitely put a crit gem in there, and we're feeling strong with that one. So, like trinkets, like right now, I'm just using this haste one, the Humming Black Dragon Scale. I don't think that's optimal. I think what you really want is to go back to Mythic Eternal Palace and get the Razor Coral with the high like Titan Forge from Mythic and wear that. But since I'm wearing double infinite stars, I think it's just fun to stack more haste, and we have this trinket too. So this might not be optimal, but it is fun. I can also wear the Void Twisted Titan Shard, which is pretty cool. So if we want to have the Nyalotha buff and have a bunch of crit, which is not a bad option. I've worn that and liked it too. The only problem is when the shield breaks, you actually lose the crit. So if you're taking a lot of damage, it's not that great. In terms of weapons, for this set, I'm wearing an Uncorrupted Devastation's Hour. I actually took the corruption off of one of my Devastation's Hours because I have 2. So we have that option as well. And I use the Gedeku that I was going to use for PvP with my Stars set, so I socketed that from running Horrific Visions but with the Verse Gem, but then of course they nerfed Stars, so I was using a different set for PvP, which I'll talk about in a bit. So I use this one for the extra proc of the bleed, which is really nice. But if you have like high item level, like crit haste weapons, like you might just want to use 2 of those. I'm not sure. You sim it, you know, sim it. But that's my go-to single target Fury PvE set. We can also go to the Mythic Plus set, which is basically like I could wear more corruption than this for raiding, and I probably will. But it's basically a lot of the similar items, except I wear a different bracer. I just wear a crit haste bracer, and this is where we start to do a different sort of corruption stacking. Is we wear a Twilight Devastation's Hour, right? And then we have these legs that also drop for Seymour Death, but he already had pair, so he just handed them over to me. So shout out to once again to my warrior bro in our raid group. These have a tier 1 Twilight Devastation on them, and eventually I think I have in my bank a bunch of like pants and belts that have like tier 2 and tier 3 Twilight Dev, so I might actually wear that for raid on like AoE fights. But for Mythic Plus, I just put these on because I don't like to wear it be over 40 corruption in Mythic Plus. But everything else pretty much the same besides the gloves. These are gloves that drop from Arena. I think they were like pretty low item level, but I used some of my little sigils on them to upgrade it because it has a ton of crit on it and a socket. So once again, more crit for Fury is really nice. I think instead of just scrolling through all the different gear that I have, I probably, first things first, should probably swap over to arms and show you my arms PvP set, because this is pretty much what I wear for Fury AoE, and then the other thing was Fury single target. Everything else is pretty much the same. It's just I'm swapping out a few pieces to balance my corruption out. But single target, I like the Infinite Stars. For AoE, I like the Twilight Devastation. And that's a pretty nice setup. I still can wear that either trinket. You know, I think that this trinket, the Vita trinket, is really nice all the time. But the Humming Dragon Scale is fun because you get to run fast. And I think the extra little leech is fun, but of course the haste is always good too. Alright, so for arms PvP, what we're looking at is I want at least 20% haste, and then I'm getting a ton of versatility. 1, to take less damage and stuns when you use Conflict and Strife as your main thingy, but 2, because you actually just do more damage with it too. It's fun. But once again, this is the kind of information that was covered in my Arms Warrior guide. I like triple Crushing Assault if you can get it. Triple Lord of War is okay, or even triple Gathering Storm, but you should at least have one Gathering Storm. And my setup right now is basically double Crushing Assault, double Lord of War, and then I have Gathering Storm. I have Strike the Anvil as like my utility ones. I think eventually, like, I would like triple Crushing Assault with a Strike the Anvil, with a Gathering Storm, and then with like a Bastion of Might, the one that gives you the Ignore Pain on Avatar. That'd be cool too. But this is what I have right now. I'll keep these two. I'm pretty sure. And then I'll just get a different chest piece that allows me to... remember that Fury chest piece I had? That one I can use Strike the Anvil and Crushing Assault once I get the Vexion chest piece. So that'd be pretty cool. So that's how I set up my arms stuff. In terms of the actual gear and corruptions, my corruptions for arms used to be sort of infinite stars focused, but once it got nerfed, we were able to make use of mostly just stat corruptions. So the corruptions that I want on arms are, I want Gushing Wound, I want versatility from all sources by, like, you know, increased by 12%, or this one right here, the versatility proc. This is okay. It's not bad. And it came on crit verse bracers, which you don't really like crit, but the versatility is good, and they're 475, so that's cool. But yeah, I have the crit proc, and then these ones right here, man. Let me tell you, these ones put me in some debt. We're still trying to pay these bad boys off, but Gushing Wounds is a very powerful corruption. It's very inexpensive in terms of how much corruption it takes to wear them, and the damage doesn't really seem insane when you look at the tooltip. But these can do, you know, maybe 4 or 5% of my total DPS in an arena. So when you start to stack these corruptions, it can start to get pretty wild. So looking out for Gushing Wound corruptions is something that I'm very interested in. And the fact that they came on Haste Versatility Gloves, which are my best in slot stats, and they're 470 item level, definitely wanted to pick those up. So I got a very, very good deal on them. And we're currently trying to pay them off, so working on that. And that was right after I actually bought these gloves too, which are... I bought these for not as expensive, but they're still, you know, an expensive BOE that I put a gem on, right? Of course. I'm like, oh man, these gloves are fantastic. So I put a gem on those as well. And then we buy these. So now my next gem from Horrific Visions is going on those. But those are also not bad. Versatility from all sources. I mean, I can put that on if I'm trying to do, you know, be doing a little bit less damage, but I just want to be tankier. We can do that. So I also crafted myself some haste versatility belt and legs from blacksmithing, right? So we got lucky and we're able to craft those pretty quickly as well. So I wear those, right? You're going to get the theme here. Haste verse, haste verse. You want haste verse and everything, including these boots drop from Mythic Plus. Would love to get those in like a 475, but, you know, 465 is pretty good too, because especially because they're heavy verse, right? The way that the stats are distributed. A little bit of haste, heavy verse, not too bad. Avoidance is kind of, you know, interesting, but we'll probably, you know, eventually maybe put a socket on those. We'll see. In terms of rings, this is another place where my corruption comes in. I have like a small amount of corruption on these, just a little bit of a mastery increase. It's fine. It sort of fits in my corruption okay. But if I had like a Gushing Wound ring, I definitely would wear that over this for the 15 corruption. But we went ahead and put a socket on that one. We added a socket to that. So that one comes with the haste verse. Definitely like that. And then this ring, I think this dropped as like a 455 ring. And I used one of my 475 trophy upgrades on it to make it a massive haste versatility ring with a socket, which is lovely. This thing actually dropped. I had one drop without a socket, and then I was, you know, doing our heroic farm runs and got one with a socket. So I wear the writhing segment of Drestagath for the extra little burst, which is really fun. But it has a socket on it too. Some other trinkets I could wear. I actually could wear like an old trinket, right, from Notorious season. We could wear that for just like more flat versatility and a little bit of a strength proc. Eventually, I might upgrade one of these sort of things for just like a heavy burst trinket. That could be kind of fun. Or you could wear defensive trinkets. I have a emblem, and then we have this little guy if you want some defensive options. And then I have a 470 insignia with a socket as well, which is pretty crazy. Definitely glad to have gotten that early on. Now, in terms of my weapon, so a weapon is also another place where I actually have corruption for now. I have a Getaku, which needs a socket. I have a couple pieces of gear that need sockets, right? Because we socketed items and then promptly, you know, had to use different sets, which is kind of awkward, but it's fine. But a 465 Getaku dropped with a tier 3 haste proc corruption, which is nice because my haste isn't really that high. So procking some haste, this buff actually has a pretty good uptime. It only lasts for 4 seconds, but it refreshes sometimes and it doesn't have a lot of downtime. So that can be up from 30 to 50% of the time, which is pretty nice. So adding a bunch of haste to an arms warrior is good. Makes your globals faster. You generate more rage. Dots tick faster. All that kind of good stuff. So my corruptions for arms PvP aren't very exciting, right? I have the crit proc, or sorry, the verse proc, the haste proc, mastery proc, and gushing wounds. So what I would love is to have more versatility from all sources and gushing wounds. That's the dream right there. Just to walk around with this a massive amount of versatility, and whenever all your little conflict and strife, whenever you have your versatile navigation, whenever you have your vision of perfection and memory of lucid dreams giving you versatility, like it can scale up pretty serious, and that's really nice. And if you have these procs, it also makes it insane. So definitely something to think about there. But that's pretty much my arms PvP set. My arms PvE set, like, it's not a real set. Like, my stats are not what they need to be. But basically what you do for arms PvE, just to review in case you guys didn't see the arms warrior guide, is you do triple test of might. Getting Heart of Darkness in every slot is fine, but I have a Lord of War, so. But I definitely would want way more haste for this. You definitely would want way more, like, haste from all sources is just like the name of the game for arms PvE. And I guess for Fury PvE, just to mention it, even though I have infinite stars for single target, Twilight Devastation for AoE, crit from all sources is really nice for Fury as well, just because those are the stats that you're looking for there. But that pretty much sums up what I'm using for arms and Fury in terms of PvE and PvP. Just to sort of show you guys something fun. Why is this thinking this is confused? There we go. Just to sort of run you through the items that I do have just for fun. My Azeroth gear is pretty much the same, but I do have like a couple different options that I play around with in terms of like different sets to sort of min-max your corruption, right? We have like a bunch of crit from all sources for Fury. We have Ineffable Truth gloves, which is kind of interesting. We have haste from all sources gloves. Those are the stars. Void Ritual, those I just haven't scrapped those yet. That's why they're in my inventory. Belts, like I said, I have some belts and pants in my bank right now that have like tier 3 Twilight Dev, which could be pretty fun. For boots, we've got some haste mastery, some crit versatility that are all pretty high, all like 475 item level. We have crit from all sources. We have haste procs. We got some Void Ritual that I just need to scrap, even though it's like a tier 3 Void, but it's too low item level. I can't do it. We'll see. Crit from all sources, and then just those boots that I was showing you earlier. For rings, we've got some of the rings. The rings aren't very exciting. I don't have a lot of corrupted rings just yet. I wish we did, but I do have a lot of trinkets. We got some defensive trinkets, some offensive trinkets. Got all the PvP trinkets. This one has a socket on it. This is another one that, like I said, that I use for PvE quite a bit. This one can be kind of fun if you're doing like Blood of the Enemy, you know, like Mega Burst with Fury. But I think right now, just with the way that I like to feel with all the haste, we just usually use that Dragon Scale for Fury PvE. And then in terms of weapons, we have this one, which is pretty interesting too. I'm not sure how I want to utilize it yet, because I think the stats are just more reliable along with Gushing Wound for PvP. But for PvE, maybe sometime we will drop the tier 3 like Void Flame Mind Tentacle thingy on some PvE bosses, and then we just have the weapons that I talked about before. But so far the gear is coming together nicely. Still want better corruptions, still can bump up some item level on a few pieces here and there. But all in all, my warrior is getting like all of my focus. I don't really have any alts right now. The time that I have to play is definitely invested in this guy, which I like. I actually don't mind just grinding my main character and making him as powerful as possible. And so far, so good. 475 item level in you know, Fury and arms with good stats and like the right set is pretty good. Just got, like I said, get some more corruptions, get some more item level, keep slamming the DPS, and keep working on them PvP ratings as well. But hope you guys enjoy the video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Be sure to give it a big thumbs up, leave me a nice comment if you enjoyed it, and we'll try to keep you guys posted as we keep beefing up this warrior. And thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Peace!